Okay, now we're going to do the second part of video notes 11, which is going to be on the note sheet that you received in class today. Okay, so we're going to start on the side that says practicing problem solving D. Okay, so make sure that you have your sheet and that you are on this side of the sheet with us. Okay, and we're just going to go through all of the examples on this and do them together. So actually, all you have to do is just do the examples with me and then come in class ready to practice tomorrow. Okay, the first thing it says is we want to name a pair of vertical angles. Okay, remember we just got through talking about vertical angles when you wrote down in your notebook. So if you need to, please refer back to your notebook to see what vertical angles are. They actually did this one for you. It told you that vertical angles are formed by intersecting lines. So we see lines intersecting right here and right here. So therefore, our angles would have to be sitting on those lines somewhere. Okay, so what they gave you was angle PSQ. So PSQ, which is right here on the outside. So that means the angle that is vertical to it has to be opposite. So that means I should be able to go right through here and get to my opposite and vertical angle. And I do, because I see that what they have named here is MSN, which is right here, MSN. So those actually are vertical angles. Now, there's actually another pair of vertical angles sitting in there. And I want you to see if you can name those vertical angles. So, if you need to, pause the video and write down your other pair of vertical angles. So just put a slash here and name your other two pairs of vertical angles. Okay, the next part says to name a pair of complementary angles. So remember, complementary means that they have to equal 90 degrees. Okay, now since there's really only one pair of complementary angles that I'm looking at in here right off the top, I guess I'll just have to do that with you and you don't have a part to do. Stop smiling so hard. Okay, remember, complementary angles form 90 degrees. Although I see 90 degrees right here, remember, it has to be a pair of angles. That's only one angle that's making this 90 degrees. So therefore, this is not a complementary angles because it's plural. That's only an angle. So that means I need to come over to this side. And on this side, I see making up this right angle here. I have two angles sitting inside here. So those are going to be my complementary angles. So therefore, I'm going to name angle RSQ. And remember, you could have written it backwards. So you could have done angle QSR. And then the other angle that's making that up is angle QSP. And you must have that angle symbol in front because we're naming angles. Or remember, you could have also written this backwards, so you could have written PSQ. Anyway, but those are our complementary angles because they total 90 degrees. Okay, next it says to name a pair of supplementary angles. So remember, supplementary angles, supplementary is equal to 180 degrees. So now I need to look somewhere on a straight line and find two angles that make up that straight line. Okay, so I actually here, I actually here. So there are several different supplementary angles in this drawing. So I'm going to do one for you, and I want you to find a separate pair of supplementary angles. Okay, so let's see. I will just look PSM, and I'm going to find two angles that are making that up. So I can go to the down this way, or I can go that way. I'm kind of giving you a hint. So I'll even do the more difficult side. Now I see there's basically two right angles sitting over there. So I can use those, or either I can use an acute angle, and then I could use its corresponding obtuse angle. And I think that's what I'll do. So, since I see angle PSQ, PSQ, and making up the other part of that 180 degrees is angle QSM. Now, the slash here, and I want for you to write me two more supplementary angles that you see in this diagram. So pause the video right now and do that very quickly. All right, we'll see how you did in class. Okay, the next section. We have this drawing or diagram, which you should know are vertical angles. So therefore, since we have vertical angles, we know that those angles that are opposite of each other, which is 1 and 3, as well as 2 and 4, must be congruent. So number 4 has been done for you already. So it says if the measure of angle 3 is 60 degrees, so that means this one right here is 60 degrees. They're telling you to find the measure of angle 1. Well, gosh, it's already highlighted, huh? Since you see that that 1 is opposite of the 3, then you know that they have to be exactly the same amount of degrees. So therefore, since they're vertical and vertical angles are opposite and congruent, the measure of angle 1 is also 60 degrees. Easy, huh? Okay, number 5. We've got the measure of angle 4 equals 100 degrees. We want to find the measure of angle 2. We already highlighted it, huh? So if angle 4 is 100 degrees, then angle 2 is the vertical angle with that. So that means it's got to be congruent. So therefore, the measure of angle 2 is also equal to 100 degrees. Okay, let's look at number 6. It says if the measure of angle 1, which is right here, is 50 degrees, find the measure of angle 2 that's sitting right beside it. So this is kind of what we have here. Angle 1 is right here and angle 2 is here. It's already telling you that angle 1 is 50 degrees. You should realize that these are making up supplementary angles. So therefore, we can solve this with an equation. Since we know that both of them have to equal 180 degrees, then I can give this a variable and set it equal to 180. But we'll wait and do that in the next section since they already have variables. Let's just go ahead and do this very quickly. Since angle 1 plus angle 2 must equal 180 degrees, then what we need to do is take our 180 degrees, subtract the 50 degrees that we already have. So that will tell us that the measure of angle 2 is equal to 130 degrees. Okay, I want you to pause the video and try number 7 and see how you do. Okay, it's asking about angles 2 and 3. So use what we just got through doing to help you figure out the measure of angle 3. Pause and solve right quick. Okay. Number 8. This time we have complementary angles. There you go. Beat me saying it. So since they are complementary, then that means that they should add up to 90 degrees. So they did the first one for you, but now we're fixing to get into the part where we're going to start using our equations to solve. So we're going to do a little bit more to this problem so that we can see how we arrived at that 30 degrees. So since both of these together had to equal 90 degrees, then that means this 60 degrees plus this x equals 90 degrees. And we know to solve this equation, I'd have to isolate the variable. So that means I would have to subtract 60 from both sides of my equation. So those 60s will cancel, and that's how I'm left with x equals 30 degrees. Okay, simple, huh? Okay, number 9. Now I know you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, I can just add these two and subtract from 180. But we're going to do algebraically, remember? So you're about to see how the algebraic is the same thing that you've been doing. It's just a different format. And remember, we're doing algebraically because it's preparing you for the road ahead in math. So since I have a triangle here, and I know that this whole entire triangle has to have a sum total of 180 degrees. Excuse me, guys. And that means I need to take all three of these angles inside of my triangle, add them together, and set it equal to 180. Now I need to solve for my variable x. So the first thing I want to do is to start combining my like terms. And notice over here on the left side together, we have two numbers that don't have variables attached. So therefore, they're like terms because they're just plain numbers. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and add those together. So therefore, I would have x plus 30 plus 110 is 140. And it equals 180. Okay, now I know the next thing that I would be doing to try to get this variable isolated is to remove this 140. Since it has been added, I'm going to do its inverse, which is subtract. So I'm going to subtract 140 from both sides. Because remember I was saying, whatever you do to one side, you do the same thing to the other side. So those cancel, and that leaves us with x equals 40 degrees. And if you were to plug in your 40 degrees for x, and add all these together, you would get 180 degrees for your sum total. Okay, now to speed this on up, I'm just going to go ahead and set the rest of them up, and then you're going to solve them on through. Okay, in number 10, we have vertical angles, because we see our intersecting lines. So since we have vertical angles, then that means that these opposite angles have to be congruent. So my equation is going to be set up like this. X plus 10 equals 45. Okay, now you pause the video and solve it to find out how many degrees x is. And you must solve algebraically. I know you can look at that and tell the answer is going to be 35. Yeah, I gave it to you. Now, you show me the work. And number 11, we have supplementary angles. See that straight line that they're sitting on. So therefore, we know that they're going to have to equal 180 degrees. So therefore, since both of these angles together need to equal 180 degrees, our equation would be x minus 5 plus 50 equals 180. Now pause the video and solve. Keep in mind we want to combine like terms first. Hint, use the example above. Pause and solve. Okay, let's flip the page. Okay, over here you have yet The vocabulary terms again were complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles. And so therefore, we're going to use this information to solve the following problems. Now each place right here, you see that they have them separated, but remember, complementary can also look like this. So those angles could have been put together or embedded into one angle. And the 50 would be here, the 40 would be here, either way. And if we were to embed these two angles, they'd both be sitting on the straight line. 155 degrees here, 25 degrees here. So either way. And then we see our vertical angles formed by our intersecting lines here. And these little rings right here, since we see one ring for both A and B, that's telling you that those angles are congruent. And we see the two rings on both C and D, so it's telling you that C and D are congruent. So just to recap of what we just talked about. All right, let's get going. Number 1 says, since angle AQC and angle DQB are formed by intersecting lines, and those intersecting lines are line AQB and line CQD, they are what? So what type of angles are formed by intersecting lines? Right, vertical angles. Those are vertical angles. Okay, now it says for number 2, the sum of the measures of angle AQV and angle VQT is what? So what we want to do here is we want to go ahead and write down the measure of angle AQV. So if I put my pen on A and I trace it to V, and then I trace it, to Q, and then I trace it to V. So A to Q to V, I see sitting inside there is 30 degrees. Okay, now I want to go to VQT. So that means put your pen or your pencil on V, trace it to Q, now trace it to T. So you see sitting inside there was 60 degrees. So angle VQT is 60 degrees. So therefore the sum we see is 90 degrees. So since these two angles have a sum of 90 degrees, what type of angles are they? Fill in that blank, and we'll check to see if you got it right tomorrow. Okay, number 3. We have the sum of the measures of angles AQC. So again, we're going to come over here and write down how much angle AQC is and angle CQB. So now let's go up here and put your pencil on A, trace it to Q, and then trace to C. So I've got more numbers inside here this time, right? So inside where you see me tracing my pen, we see 30 plus 60 plus 60. So altogether, AQC is 150 degrees. And we can even write that right up top there. That's also a good thing to do. Okay, CQB. Put your pencil on C, trace it to Q, now trace to B. So you see that was only one little single angle, and sitting inside there we have 30 degrees. So therefore, since CQB is 30 degrees, when I put those together, I end up with 180 degrees. So these angles are what type of angles? fill in that blank, and we'll see if you're right tomorrow. Okay, last section. I'm going to go ahead and get these set up for you, and then I want you to solve. Okay, so if you don't mind, let's just go ahead and go through these and get them all set up. And I may even go ahead and solve one or two for you. We're going to go ahead and get them set up, and then you finish solving and come in with your notes ready to do some more examples in class tomorrow. Okay, number 4, we have vertical angles. So since we have vertical angles, then that means that these opposite angles that we see are going to be congruent. So we just got through doing one on the other side. So remember, you're going to set them equal to one another. So therefore, my equation is going to be x plus 30 equals 110. Now you should know how to solve that one for x. And remember, solve algebraically. And I'll go ahead and tell you the answer is 80. Now show the work. Okay, number 5. This time, we see both of the angles are sitting right here in this little corner, which we see is forming a right angle. So that means these are complementary angles. And since they're complementary angles that are forming this right angle, then that means they have to equal 90 degrees. So therefore, I'm going to take both angles. And you might need to write this one kind of small because there's some, it's basically a 2-step or more. So we're going to do 2x plus 7. Now I'm going to add this 43 to it. And all of that has to equal 90 degrees. So I just did an example like this for you on the other side if you need to refer back to it. I'll even get you started. Remember, combine like terms. So you need to start off by combining those two and then solve on through. Okay. Number 6, we have 150 degrees and 5x are both sitting on this straight line, so therefore they form supplementary angles. Right down there. Since we know that line equals 180 degrees. So therefore, what we want to do is take both of these, 150 plus 5x, and it equals 180. Okay, again, solve algebraically. Use what you know about solving equations. Okay, and finally, we have a triangle sitting over here. Now this triangle is special because it has these little tick marks. And I know if you're in my class, y'all were able to tell me today that this is an isosceles triangle because we have these two congruent sides. And think about, we just talked about the triangle inequality theorem today in class, which said that there's a direct correlation between your sides and your angles. So the side that is opposite of an angle goes with that angle. So if this side and this side are congruent, then that means I should have two angles that are congruent. So if I go opposite of this side, remember we got to go through the triangle, I'm going to get this angle. And if I go opposite of this side, going through the triangle, I'm going to get this angle. Yes, alrighty. So therefore, it should be telling me that this angle that says 2x plus 9 has to be congruent to this angle. So therefore, this angle is going to be how much? Very good, 2x plus 9 as well. So since we have a triangle, and you definitely want to write small for this one because there's quite a few steps to it, we're going to go ahead and set all of this equal to 180. So we basically have 2x plus 9 plus another 2x plus 9 plus the 62 degrees all equals 180. Now since I know y'all are looking at this like, oh my gosh, no she didn't. I'm going to go ahead and do this one for you. Okay, remember, Goal is to isolate the variable, but we've got to combine like terms. So since I see these two terms right here with variables attached, let's go ahead and combine them together. So basically what I'm going to be doing is bringing this 2x right here over, and I'm going to add it to the other 2x. So I now have 2 plus 2, which is 4. Bring down the x, and that one's gone. Now bring the rest down. So I'm going to bring down this plus 9 that's in here. I'm going to bring down the next plus 9, bring down this plus 62, and it still equals 180. Okay, so now all over here I have numbers that do not have any variables attached. So I can combine all of them. It's just like order of operations. So would you not take these two nines and add it together and get 18? You would drop that 62 down, add it together, and that would give you 80. And drop the rest of your problem down. Bring this 4x on down. So now what we have is 4x plus 80 equals 180. Remember, I still need to get x by itself. So I need this number that's by itself to be gone. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, I should have put that in black. I'm going to remove this 80 from my left side. So I'm going to do its inverse operation, which is subtract. Remember, whatever I do to one side, I do the same thing to the opposite side. So now I'm left with 4x equals 100. And you should know what to do from here. Very good. Last thing you want to do is divide both sides by 4. So those will cancel, and that leaves you with x equals 25. That wasn't so bad, was it? I know, because you're such smart babies. All right. Well, that wraps up video notes 11. Make sure you have finished all the equations that were set up here and come in ready to do some more practice tomorrow. Please don't forget, guys, there have been no questions going on the parking lot all week, this week and last week. So that makes Miss Parker and I think that you know what you're doing. You understand. And judging from, some of the things that we've seen, that's not the case. So you should be writing your questions down and posting them on that parking lot as soon as you walk through the door. That way we know what we need to address, before we go into our lesson. So please, whatever you don't understand, write it down. All right, guys, we'll see you in class tomorrow. Have a good evening.